And now, it's that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Departure Lounge podcast with your hosts, Tom Whittle and Steve Waldridge. Your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 52 of the Departure Lounge podcast here on the Departure Lounge YouTube channel, the weekly podcast where we talk nothing but aviation for at least 90 minutes or so on a Wednesday evening. I am your host, Tom Whittle, and joining me this evening, and he was here, but he's now disappeared. However, we're going to bring on somebody else instead. Ian Hartley is going to make the contribution first because Steve's done a runner. So, Ian, good evening to you. How are you?
I'm very good, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad,
Good.
considering. But I'm not going to get into it.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all.
Yeah,
Did you have a nice weekend?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And, all good up north and what have you. And I've had a couple of days on bank this week. It's been absolutely biting that easterly wind, but I've been catching fish, so I've had a good couple of days this week, and we're on Wednesday already, so we're over the hill and on our way to the weekend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just bear with me 2 seconds because I think Steve's had connection issues, so we're going to have to do this solo for the time being.
All right.
But yes, anyway. So while we wait for Steve, we'll jump into some housekeeping stuff, so at least we can get that out of the way before he rejoins us. So yes, we're on social medias. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch. If you fancy giving us a follow on those to keep up to date with everything that is happening with the show and everything else. Ian.
You've really got out of sync. Your voice has gone really, really out of sync on my computer, but it's still working.
It's funny you should say that because you're out of sync on here.
Right, that's weird.
We'll find out because Steve's here. Steve, welcome.
Yeah, good evening. My computer decided to shut down just as we were about to come on air. Sorry about that. It could be a night of gremlins. I hope not, but I'm here for the minute.
No, that's fine. We'll just find out from Ian whether that was in sync or not.
No, absolutely fine.
Okay. Because you are showing as currently 6 out of 10 for connection, and I'm showing as 10 out of 10.
Right, because I've got my connection's down to 2 out of 10 on my thing here.
Yeah, so I think it's you.
Yeah, that's weird. Right, we'll have to roll with it and see what happens.
We'll go with it. It's a good way to start the show. But yeah, have you had a decent week so far before I carry on with the housekeeping?
That's Tuesday.
Yeah, if you're talking to me, yeah, no, it's been good. I went fishing on Monday. I blanked. I was a little bit annoyed, but such is the way of fishing. If it wasn't guaranteed, it would be called catching. But there you go. But yeah, other than that, it's been a decent week.
Fantastic. I'm just trying to make sure. I want people to find, put in the chat whether this is okay or whether Ian's correct and things are out of sync. Let us know, please. Right, so onwards with the housekeeping before we jump into it. As I mentioned, we're on social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. Find them in the description below to give us a follow to keep up to date with everything that's happening on the show. You can also buy the merch from the shop as well. You can also find the link to that in the description below as well. Also, you can see top right of the corner of your screen which Steve is politely putting out. If I take the logo off, it might make it a little bit easier. There we go. We are running a little football league style thing on a website called expert11.com. This is where Steve, Ian, myself, and a few listeners are sort of in a league. We've got 12 teams in there at the moment. We're due to start the league next season. Supposed to start the season next week. Next week. It's a fun little game. I think we can all Ian in particular can probably vouch for that. It's a fun little game so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have got absolutely zero interest in it, to be quite honest. But I've got into this game now, and it's a proper good laugh. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Fantastic. And also, it's a nice little incentive because what we're doing, despite the fact that we've got 12 teams so far, for each team that then joins on top of the 12, each of us will donate some money towards the mental health charity Mind as well. So we'll probably he's gone. I think it's gonna be a night full of issues. I think, but yes. Each of us will donate a £5 or 10 quid for each team that joins to the mental health charity Mind. So if you want to kind of raid our pockets and make us spend as much money as we can on the charities, by all means do so. By all means do so and join the league. You can find the website expert11.com, and the league ID, once you've set the account up, is there on the screen as well. So if you fancy joining us for that, do so. Bernard Matthews just turned back up.
There he is.
Yeah,
he
all just went pear-shaped. I've just had to just refreshed it. So
who have you insulted this week then?
Yeah.
No one yet.
You were mocking me for eating a pizza with a knife and fork. It's bad karma.
It's what?
Bad karma.
Bad karma?
Yeah.
I think it's bad manners eating pizza with a knife and fork.
Honestly. Talking about
Eat kebab,
you use knife and fork for pizza, otherwise you're an animal. But there you go, never mind. Anyway, a couple of hellos, which I'll get out of the way here. Planespotter 555 says hi, guys. So hi to you. And Rob Brown Planespotter says evening, guys. Hope you are well. Yes, we're doing very well, thank you.
Yeah.
And Planespotter again 555 says, Steve, by the way, your favourite plane is on final.
I haven't looked at Heathrow flight radar. I assume you're on about an A380 because if you're on about what's coming into Bournemouth at the moment, yeah, I'm pleased it's only going to be on the ground for half hour. It's a disgrace that we're even.
It's not the Jet 2 holiday livery, is it?
Down there. Sorry?
Is it the Jet 2 holiday livery?
Oh, I don't know. I refuse to look at the flight radar. I assume it must be.
I'm intrigued. I think it is.
I
think it is. I'm just going to have a quick nosy. I know this is not the right thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yes, it is. It is indeed. It is indeed the Jet 2 737.
Oh, it'll be full of Northerners with big gold chains on.
We've all duty free
sandwiches. Delightful. Wonderful. Right, so tonight we are here to rate the retros. We've got a collection of retro liveries adorning planes sort of today, and retro liveries that have been sort of phased out over the years. We're going to go through as many as we can in the 90 minutes or so, and then we will also rate them out of 10, and yeah, just see how well how well we get on with them. And of course, we want your opinions as well. So for each one that we show, give us a rating that you would give it out of 10 and tell us whether it fits the aircraft or not. Just going to put a comment here for your daughter there. Ian, who says, hello, girls. Hope you're all Gucci.
Well, that's a new one on me.
Yeah, how these young ones speak these days.
Yeah, whatever Gucci is, I'm sure we're bob on. So, yeah.
Yeah, Gucci's a brand what we get on North from to me in Manchester.
Yeah, I'm all Versace, so thanks. Never mind. Anyway, right, so let's crack on then with tonight's show. And to begin with, we're going to start with Ye Olde Classic. Like I said, these are in order. I've put them in order, but I can't remember what the order is, so we're going to go for it anyway. First one for tonight is, of course, one of the heritage liveries that British Airways gave to us for a very short time before retiring the 747. It is, of course, the wonderful BOAC livery adorning a 747-400. Now, I saw this with my eyes, never got it on film or camera, but I think this livery is another one of those ones that is a timeless classic. I think this would fit sort of today's sort of aviation world before obviously IAG decided to ruin it. But yeah, I love the cheat line, as you know. I'm a big fan of the cheat line, but it's a real classy livery, and of course you've got never mind. Didn't mean to do that. no, didn't mean to do that. And of course, you've got the gold sort of. I want to call it the bird, but someone will correct me there on the logo on the tail as well. Really nice this one, Steve. Your thoughts on the old BOAC livery on the 747?
Yeah, for me, all the airlines that predated British Airways, all those retro liveries are absolutely on point, and this is no exception. I love this one. It's not overly fussy, is it? It does what it says on the tin without being over the top, and it's just classy. It's a real beauty. It's a shame I never got to see it myself, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I only saw it parked up at the terminal one time, but that's pretty much about it for me actually seeing it. Ian, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like you say, it's an all-time classic, isn't it? You can't fault it. You never get sick of looking at it, would you? You'd never get. I think just that living, never mind it being sat on a 747, but I think pretty much on anything, you wouldn't tire of seeing that livery, would you? Yeah, I think it's one of my all-time favourite liveries, to be quite honest, the Boac livery.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'd jump my tracksuit top with a Boac thing on.
Even on like a 320 or a 19, that would still hit hard.
It would work on anything, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it looked great on the VC10s at the time as well.
Yeah, no.
I think. Look, sorry, Steve. Go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like I previously said, it does its job without being overly fancy. There's no bells and whistles to it. It's just a classy, straight up nod to the heritage of what British Airways were before. Well, one of the companies that were British Airways beforehand, and yeah, they've done it very, very well.
Yeah. To say that it's like an old livery, and like you mentioned on with the BC10 and things like that, obviously it's tapped on those planes, lovely. But to say that they've transferred it over to like a modern sort of 747-400, if you want, it still looks. I don't think it'll look bad on any plane, even on a 350 or something. That I think it's still sitting nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I think so. I think putting that onto, because this was only around for, I think it was about, what's it now? That like 2020, the 747s retired. So it wasn't around for long. So I'd like to be able to see that on something, or something else that I'd quite like to see. And I saw this as I was doing a little bit of research. Was there were sort of plans or rumors that the old Caledonian livery, the blue and yellow one, not the Landor looking one, was supposed to be one of these liveries as well, but never came to light because obviously Caledonian and British Airways obviously merged as well. So would have been nice to see that on a 747-400, I think. But yeah, I'd like to see something like this sort of on a 350 or a 777, something that's going to be around for a little bit longer than what the 747s were when it was first put on there.
And whilst it is a retro, I think, I forget who said it, one of you two, it's almost timeless, isn't it? You could expect to see that kind of thing in Heathrow today as a modern livery, which probably suggests how far in front of their time they were. It doesn't look dated as such. You don't look at it and go, oh yeah, that's a proper. Well, you do look at it and go, it's a proper retro because it's got Boac on it. But do you know what I mean? It's whilst being retro, it's still modern enough to get away with sort of the time we're in.
It's very similar to the likes of Pan Am, where Pan Am became a bit of a brand, and Boac was sort of along the same lines, like the British version of sort of Pan Am in terms of like branding and stuff. Like you still see stuff nowadays that people are either selling online or might have in their house of the Boac branding because it means something to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So excellent. So let us know in the chat what you think of the not just this, but the retro liveries that we'll be going through this evening. Time to give it a rating. So Steve, out of 10 in terms of being a retro livery, and of course the way that it fits the aircraft and stuff, and would it fit into today's aviation sort of industry? Out of 10, what would you give it?
Yeah, well, no, it is ticking all those boxes. I would give it a solid 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Ian?
Yeah, I think I'd be somewhere with Steve. I think starting with this one, a mark out of 10 is quite difficult because you can't really set a benchmark yet, can you? But I would certainly put it up there. A good 9 out of 10, definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think I'm inclined to go the same way in terms of ratings and stuff. I'd like to give it a 10, but 100% we'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
for that one. I think it's a good sort of solid ground to start off with. So yeah, 9 out of 10 from us. So good shout on that one. A couple of people. Tian Hartley says that she's never seen that plane before.
She won't do. She's only ever been spotting in Manchester.
and even then, she spent her time on Snapchat when the Rads came over.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what she did when Red Arrows came over, weren't it? Yeah. Did you see them, Tian? No, I was on my phone.
Yeah, disgusting. Rob Brown Plane Spotting says a shout out for the Royal Canadian Air Force A310 Polaris, a military retro. And that's very true. That's the one that came to Newquay during the G7 summit, which I was quite fortunate to see. Never got on film or camera, but I know exactly the one he's talking about, and I'll probably grab a picture of that before the show is done. Planespot 555 says, love that livery, but never actually saw it in real life. Of course, you guys down Bournemouth way had Landor in storage.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So, yeah.
Yes. And of course, Hyde, every one of those APU systems, Jack Rolls is in the house. So cover your holes. Rolls is in the house.
There you go.
Rollsies.
Oh, yeah. Rolls is holes.
Apparently, if you want to meet Jack, 3 o'clock in Romsey on Sunday, he's going to be there.
3 o'clock, yeah, 3 o'clock in Romsey, if you fancy it.
Signing body parts with a Sharpie.
Fantastic. Right, let's jump on to our next one. If I zoom all the way out here, I am using something else. Here we go. Here's another nice one that unfortunately doesn't grace our skies anymore. I don't think it does anyway, because I think this plane's been retired. It's the Air France retro plane. Ian, I know you're quite a big fan of sort of the Air France planes, especially sort of their Sky Team livery plane. I know it's
I'm a massive fan of the Sky Team livery plane. But again, it's just got classic France on. I mean, just looking at the Air France with the little French badge on and the blue cheat line and things like that, it sort of takes me back to their old football kit. I don't know why. It sort of got.
I can see that. Yeah, I can
you
see
see
that,
it? You sort of see like just little like nods to the old French football kits and things like that. So it's definitely
France
got that
sort of thing.
The only thing I would criticize it for, I mean, it's not a real criticism, but the black nose at the front with the grey light body, it just reminds me of something more military rather than a civil plane.
That's interesting.
Actually, I was quite liking the black nose on it, to be honest. I thought it was a good touch, but again, it's sort of simplistic, isn't it? It's not doing too much for itself. The black nose is not an issue for me. I think it breaks it up quite nicely. It's better than if it had just been grey around the front of it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, it still looks really, really cool, but it just sort of gives it a bit of a military feel to it.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but it's still really smart. That tail's nice as well. That's really nice.
I quite like it. I think this is a nod back to like the 60s, I think. And of course, you got the great big writing of the registration on the belly as well, so you couldn't miss what plane it was if you were doing a whole sort of taking the registrations down on that. Overall, I think it's tidy. I like the black nose. Black noses were like a staple back in the day anyway. So this is nothing compared to sort of the others that we're sort of going to see later on in the show. It's got the blue of France. You can tell it's an Air France plane. It's quite clean. It's quite tidy. I quite like it. I quite like it.
Nice.
Doesn't fly anymore because they didn't preserve it. They retired it and scrapped it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a set of dope ears away from looking like Snoopy, isn't it, from the front?
Good shout. Right, so let's just quickly go through some comments here. So plane spot 555 says apparently the nose of the aircraft had to be black because of the antenna in the nose. Which, if that is the case, then great shout on that one. Rob Brown plane spotting says I like that Air France typical French flamboyance, but still understated ooh la la on a Caravelle. Caravelle wore this livery as well, I think, and that was really nice. Good shout. Very good shout. So yes, everyone in the chat that's watching, give it a rating out of 10. Let us know what you think. We're going to give our ratings now before we move on to the next one. So we're going to go for Ian first. Your rating out of 10.
Well, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to knock a point off. I'm afraid. I'm not going to. I can't say it's better than Boac because it's not. I'm still saying the Boac because I think that's a bit of patriotism as well, to be quite honest. But I'm also going to knock a point off because of the black nose, whether it needed it or not.
Interesting. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna compare it to the Boac rather than on its own merit to a point. So whilst it's not terrible, it's going to get a maybe a 6.5 out of 10 for me.
6.5. Interesting. I will give it probably about 7.5. I think 7.5 out of 10. I don't think it's that terrible. I don't think it's as low as a 6.5. And it is a shame that it doesn't fly around anymore. But yeah, it's quite nice. It's nice. I like it.
I like it. I like the tail. Yeah. And Jack Rolls has given it a 9 out of 10. And Rob Brown plane spotting has given it 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. And Martin Wooldridge has given it wheat out of 6, whatever that means.
Wheat out of 10.
Yeah.
The fact that he's had to write out of in English is minus point for me, I'm afraid.
But we give it a solid 7 out of 10 in terms of the average of what we've given it. We give it 7 out of 10. It's not terrible, but it's not Boac worthy, but it's still nice.
It's nice, definitely. Yeah,
it's still very nice.
Yeah, I think Martin means 6 out of 10, doesn't he? I think something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the numbers in French in my head from what I learnt in class.
Wheat, these. No, it's 7, isn't it? Wheat.
Is it?
Yeah, wheat. Yeah, 7.
I honestly don't remember.
I'm going for 8. Wheat.
But we'll go for it. So 7 out of 10 from us.
Yeah, no, I'm with Steve. Sorry, it is 8.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Right, next one. I'm just going to that is the right one, yeah. Right, next one. Quite a recent change. Used to adorn a A319 before they retired that, but thankfully saved the livery and stuck it on an A220. It is, of course, Air Canada's Trans-Canada Airlines Retro plane. Now, I wasn't a big fan of it on the 319. I thought it was quite standard. It was quite, it wasn't a standout retro livery. But there's something about the A220 that seems to make this pop. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it seems like a bit of a slimmer plane than the 319. But it just looks like it works. And I think it's absolutely stunning. It's simple as a retro livery can get. But it to me, like, it looks fantastic. And that grey makes the red sort of pop out. So maybe it's the fact that it is a slimmer plane than the 319 that just makes it stand out a bit more. But I really like this.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This is my first time that I've ever seen this particular retro, and Yeah, I'm not particularly having it. From a distance, it looks like it says Transformer Airlines. And yeah, I don't know. Whilst it embodies the red and white of Canada, it just, I don't know. It somehow seems a bit kind of messy and busy compared to like the other retros. Yeah, I'm not having it too much. I'll be quite honest.
Interesting shout, Ian. I'm gonna say you agree with this.
I'm inclined to agree with Steve. To be quite honest, I think it's too much for it. I think that I don't know what it is. It's I don't know. It reminds me of a toy what you get when you're a kid. With when you're a kid when you're only young, aren't you? And instead of getting like proper models like you do from whoever Gemini, whatever.
Yeah, toy plane with fake livery.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what it reminds me of, a toy plane with a fake livery. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's on an A220, which it's my favourite small jet. It really, really is. And I actually like the colour, the grey and everything else. And even the little maple leaf on the tail and everything like that looks absolutely fantastic. I'm bothered by the Trans-Canada Airlines, I think, on the side. And I think that the cheat line's a bit broad. I don't know. It's just not quite working for me, to be honest.
The font they've used for the writing doesn't work. Well, I think that's the main issue from my end.
Yeah, I don't think red sits well on grey, does it? I think that's part of the problem as well.
Now it's interesting because I know a lot of Canadian spotters absolutely love this and they prefer it on the 220, but Rob Brown prefers the 319.
Yeah.
I advise you to do a quick Google search because I'm not going to find the picture. But if you do a quick Google search, everybody, the power of live podcasting, just do a quick Google search on the Trans-Canada Airlines A319 and see which one you think is better. And do you agree with Rob Brown? Meanwhile, I'm going to go through some comments while you go through those. Jack Roll says a solid 8.9 out of 10. I believe, Jack, you'll have to clear this one up. Is it for this one or is it for the Air France one that we did? And Ian, while you're Google searching, he's also put, question is, Ian, is it still better than the TAP livery?
Of course it's better than the TAP livery. Come on, Jack.
Yeah,
I nearly swore then.
Fantastic.
I'll be honest, I've just looked at the 319 and I'm still not particularly having it. I started laughing because my last search was for sandwiches and the picture was still there. So,
the picture was still there. Oh, dear.
Yeah, let's not go there, shall we?
No, let's not.
No, let's not go there with sandwiches.
No, it's not even 9 o'clock yet, is it?
No.
It's not even still eligible for anything.
No. I'm not swayed either way by the 319, to be honest. It doesn't change my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I like it. It's just, I don't think red sits well on grey at all, and I think that's what it is. It's just not catching my eye like the Boac of the Air France did, to be quite honest. It's just not catching my eye at all.
Yeah, I think the writing doesn't pop enough for my liking.
Yeah, okay. I'll be honest with you. If there was one of them coming into Manchester or the newer Canada, with the little panda eyes, raccoon face or whatever you want to call it, coming in, I think I'd rather see that one than that one. Yeah.
I'd go for it personally because it's a retro livery and it's not going to be around for long. So I'd like to have it as a bit of a.
Yeah, I think I prefer the new one.
a bit of a sort of a memory sort of thing. Yeah. You know, like I've actually managed to get it before it goes, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't like the pale blue Canada livery either, but that's another story, isn't it? The blue one.
I'd still be delighted to photograph it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if we're to be Simon Cowell, then yeah, it's not my favourite.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the ratings before we mention what people have put in the chat. So, Steve, seeing as you had your opinion first, out of 10, what would you give it?
Yeah, like I say, I'd still go and photograph it, but it's probably just a 5 for me on this one.
5. Interesting. Ian?
I think I'd give it a little bit more than that. I think I'd give it a 6 because it's still not, I'm not over mad keen on it, but it's not the worst retro livery in the world, is it? It's still a nice looking plane at the end of the day, especially on a 220. So I'd give it a 6.
I think in terms of like the whether it catches the eye or not, it doesn't particularly do that. I'm going to give it, but because I quite like it, and because it's on the A220, I'm going to give it a 7, which means we give it a 6.9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's the first score.
6.9 out of 10. It's not terrible, but you still go and photo it, and I think that's what gives it
Absolutely. I mean, of course, if you knew it was coming into your local airport, you'd certainly make a beeline to go and try and get a photograph of it, wouldn't you? Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyone say 6.5? Was it you, Ian? Would you say 6?
6, I said, didn't I? But Jack
6.
Rolls.
Jack Rolls says he'll go for a 6.5.
I go for 6.5, my lovelies. That's what Jack Rolls said. Just a little impression for him. I know he likes them.
Don't know what it was trying to be, but it's an impression.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Planeswalker 555 says 319 is more spaced out, 220 is too cramped. I'm assuming this is probably to do with delivery and that, but yeah. Rob Brown Planeswalking says 5 out of 10 on the 220, a respectable 6 out of 10 on the 319. So the 319 is better for him, as we established earlier.
It does look a bit more spaced out. I'll agree with what Planespotter 555 was saying. It is a bit more spaced out. But yeah.
Okay. Right, next one. I don't know what's coming next until I press the button. This is an interesting one. Okay. So we have got a recent addition to the retro liveries. It is, of course, the Saudi Arabian Airlines 777 in sort of late 80s, 90s livery. A lot of talk about this one, saying that it's not correct.
Interesting.
So if you have a look, I mean, I won't do it.
No.
But if you have a look at the actual livery from the 90s or the late 80s, 90s that adorned the tri-stars and everything else, they've got a white banner. I've just gone to the picture. They've got a white banner around the tail, which this one doesn't.
Right, okay.
And I think a lot of people have had an issue with the green being too green.
Yeah, I've got an issue with that, to be quite honest. Also, the original never had the big 75 stuck on side. That was just an observation. I'll tell you now, the first thing what came into my mind, now, we're all non-smokers and all the rest of it, but I'm sure the cigarettes were called the number 6 or something like that. I remember my grandma and my dad smoking them when I was a kid, and it reminds me of that. It reminds me of a cigarette box from 1970s.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to do a quick Google search on the original livery and just find out what, because I read as soon as it came out there was a few issues with it. I know people took to heart. Let me just bring this up here. Yeah. So if you were to look at a picture of Google, the green is a bit darker, like you would find it on the flag. That to me is not green enough. And this will be not the first time that I'll say this either, whether green is not green enough or the color is not that color enough. Everything is just a bit bright, I think. And of course, the problem with this is having been recently painted.
Peeling.
It's peeling already.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, do I like this livery over what is currently on their 777s? I'll say no. I think the fact that it's not correct either is a real, it knocks points off it. And I'd like to have seen them done a little bit more in terms of making it look like the original, like the font for the titles, spot on. But the colors are they're too vibrant. They're too much. It should be a lot darker than it should be. So, Steve, your opinions?
Yeah, well, I'll throw my hat into the ring and say I like it actually. Compared to what Saudi are flying around at the moment, I think it's nice. I know it might not be spot on, but it's got that classic cheat line look. It's got the old school font on it, and I'll be quite honest, I'm quite a fan. If I saw that flying into Heathrow, that would have made my day. To be quite honest, seeing that, I'm not against it at all. I know there's obviously some inaccuracies in it, but it's not atrocious in my mind.
No, the other thing that I'm pointing out is the bottom of the plane was not light either. It wasn't as light as that. A lot of the planes had either a chrome belly or sort of it was grey. So even that is completely off, and I think that's what makes it look a bit off to me, at least.
Yeah, no,
but I think had they done that, it probably would have looked nice. I think, but it's just because it's so wrong, it doesn't do it for me. I'd love to see it, and I'll still photo it and everything else. And I missed it because when being in London and stuff, I missed it the next day when it came in, and I hadn't spotted that day. So yeah, it came in the next day, and I wasn't there to get it. But I'd still photo it, but there's so many, there's so many inaccuracies with it. It's just it kind of tarnishes the niceness about it.
It's quite impressive you've managed to make a retro-looking aircraft without it being their retro aircraft. It was quite a skill. You've got to give them that.
Yeah. Ian, fan or no fan?
I'll be honest. I'm not a massive fan of it, but I will defend them. I think the purists out there who are saying that it doesn't look right and the colours are too dark and blah 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 blah. I think they're just mourning for mourning's sake, to be quite honest. It still looks like it's well, yes. I mean, it might not look like the original retro, but it's as near as damn it, isn't it? You know, it's. I think with people's negativity towards it has actually taken away the actual niceness of how it looks. To be quite honest, it's not. I won't say I'm a fan of it, but I'll certainly not criticize it for getting bits and pieces wrong within it either, to be quite honest. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to say about it. I
mean, imagine producing Landor and getting it wrong.
Different ballpark, I think. Different ballpark.
Yeah, we'll have words after. I'll see you outside. No, I've just pressed one thing there. Right. So, I mean, we'll rate it, but we'll go into the chats first. Jack Rolls says 10 out of 10. That is stunning. There's no denying it's nice. It's just, it's not, there's so many, for me, more imperfections than anything. Obviously, you're not going to chrome the bottom out, but if you paint it a darker grey, it will look exactly like it should.
I think painting it a darker grey would have been a lot better, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Absolutely. Rob Brown Plain Spotting says the Saudia looked better on the 747. Cargo Lux bought ex-Saudi 747-200s, and they still retained the tail and the cheat lines. Looked cracking when they pasted the Cargo Lux on the side too. I'd love to see a picture of that, if there is one at all anywhere. I'd like to see a picture of that. Jack Rolls says I would take 40 pictures just of that, or maybe just look, Jack. I'll make sure. Yeah, there you go. Just for Jack Rolls there we go. And then he says, keep the fighting for the football, Tom and Ian.
I was going to see if I can see anything with the Cargo Lux.
Yeah, no, I really, I do really like it as a standalone design, but because of the inaccuracies, I'm gonna have to score it down because it's not true to how it used to be, unfortunately.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I remember the livery being around at the time, and seeing the older planes flying around in this livery, out of Heathrow and stuff, and thought it was amazing. They got rid of it for what they have now, before the tweaks they made, and it looked all right. It looked okay. But this, to me, if you look at the old style, like on the TriStars and 737s and that, like nothing beats it. Nothing beats it, and it's just unfortunately for me, the imperfections just make it just knock it down a few points and that.
Yeah. What are you going for, then, Tom? You can start this one off.
I will in a second. Plane Spotter 555 says, just the theory, maybe because of their paint issues, they didn't want to spend a lot of money on it. This coming from a country that is rich in oil. So they'll be full of money and everything else. It wouldn't have taken much, really, but it's a fair point. I won't score it too low, if I'm going to be honest, because I don't think it deserves that. But I'm going to give it probably a 6.
How about you, Ian?
I'll take another point off it. I just don't think it's the nicest looking retro livery. I'm not a fan of the green on it whatsoever, so I'm going to give it a 5. I'm going to give it a 5 there, Simon. That's my Louis Walsh impression.
Yeah. I'm going to sway with Tom. Like, if it was standalone, it would be excellent, but because of the imperfections on the original design, it's got a 6 for me.
Okay, so in that case, we give it a 6 out of 10 for this one. I think it's the lowest rated one we've done so far, so I'm pretty certain there's going to be something that will beat that. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for that one. All right, next one is a little bit of a classic. Apologies for the picture, but I'm sure you can see it. We're going for American Airlines and their Astrojet, which was worn on the 737 and then earlier than that, the 757. This is also a throwback to the early 60s before they went into the very popular, very timeless, very classic, very missed chrome cheat line livery that we all loved so much, especially you, Steve. I know you loved that livery a lot. Well, this is what they had before that. And we'll go with you, Steve, seeing as you like the old chrome livery, and this is pretty much a chrome plane with, a very classy look. What do you make of it?
First of all, I'm going to quote a little bit of Queen here. You won't get me singing on here often, so sit back and enjoy it. And it is Flash. Oh, he's the savior of the universe. Yeah, it's got a cracking bit of Flash Gordon going on, isn't it? There's no getting away from that. But I'm a sucker for anything chrome. I'm a little bit of a magpie. Maybe that's what I was in my previous life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, to me it's beautiful. The only thing that lets it down is the tail. Maybe could have been in the same as the fuselage, unless it's just the way the photo's taken. But overall, I'm quite a big fan of that.
I don't think they could chrome the 737 tail because of what it was made from, I think. Possibly. I'm not entirely sure. Somebody I'm sure will correct me. But
yeah, no, I'd love to have seen that, and I would have belted out a bit more Flash Gordon as it came in.
I'll give my 2 pence in there before Ian does his. I quite like it. I'm a little bit sort of why they haven't centered the logo on the tail. It looks very off in one side.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I mean, it tells you everything that's about American, didn't you? Like, it's got the nice sort of zippy cheat line down there, and the big American titles, which you wouldn't see on a properly chromed plane. It's quite nice. I like it. It's very simple, and retains the American eagle as well on the tail. Does it fit the 737? I think personally probably look better on the 7.5, and that's not because I'm a fan of the 757. I just think overall it looked better because they painted the engines the same way as well.
Yeah, a little bit more stretched. It would have looked better. Yeah.
Yeah, the chrome engines and the red sort of zip cheat line. Unfortunately, couldn't find a clear enough picture. So yeah, so we'll go with that. But yeah, I quite like this one, despite the sort of the little niggly points that I've picked up there. Ian, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's screaming everything what's retro American, isn't it? Your American diners from 1950s and those chrome-coloured chrome caravans, what they used to drag around with, and all the everything with chrome, weren't it, back in them days? And the flash on the side, I think that's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I really, really do. Like Steve says, I'm not a massive fan of the grey tail. I think they could have. I don't know. I don't know whether they could have painted it something different than that grey, because it sort of doesn't belong. I don't think. I think they could have maybe done it a pale blue or something like that to make it more stand out with the chrome. I don't know, but I think the grey tail I don't think belongs on it, but I think everything about it is absolutely fantastic. I love it. Yeah.
And to be fair to Tom, I never spotted it off the bat, but that logo has drawn my eyes on the tail. It's irritating me a little bit that it's not centered.
I think they've just done it because of the just because probably where the join is in the tail, probably.
Yeah, right enough.
You'd end up with a black line down it or something, wouldn't you? And maybe they didn't want that. So if you take away the actual movable part of the tail, it would actually be sat in the middle of what's left, wouldn't it?
Yeah, would you have liked to have seen something on the engine covers, perhaps?
I think I'd like to have seen chrome engine covers, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
If you want to see that, Google again. I know Google's probably going to be our best friend tonight. Google the American Retrojet 757, and it will show you the full thing with the chrome engines and the actual
chrome engine. Yeah, I think if they put chrome engines on it and stuck that badge on the engine cover, I think that would have looked fantastic. I think it would have just finished it off. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of that. It really looks dead smart. That's proper retro. Really, really is retro. That.
Would love to know what people think in the chat, and whilst we wait for that, we'll go through a few more comments. Obviously, a request here for you, Ian. Jack Roll saying that you've got the best Scottish impression.
Yep. I am an impersonator.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
If you'd like to kind of just give us a taste.
I am a fire starter at Twisted Fire.
Twisted Fire Starter.
I have to be sort of voice ready for me sort of impersonations and whatever. I'm not quite tuned in tonight, to be quite honest. Plus Rob Brown's listening, so I don't want to insult him. So
yeah, fair enough.
Good.
Yeah.
Just talk amongst yourselves. I asked for a picture of this Saudia or ex-Saudia 747 with the Cargo Lux titles. Rob Brown has so politely provided one. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right, fantastic. Is also the Cargo Lux Saudi? Is that what you were saying?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Visions International also said that livery should have had the chrome tail and engine. So I think Tom alluded to the fact it couldn't have a chrome tail, unfortunately, on that particular model. But certainly the engine covers, I agree with you, would have looked good, and it would have looked better in a different silver, perhaps on the tail, like a more sort of chromy silver without it being chrome if it wasn't possible.
Yeah, I think they could have put a lighter grey on it, or maybe a tint of blue in it, because you do tend to get a lot of blue on a chrome plane with reflections and things like that, don't you? So I think they could have done a blue or a lighter grey or something. It doesn't really belong, does it? But apart from that, it's an absolutely fantastic looking jet. It really, really is.
Yeah, it would have been awesome to see it.
I seem to have lost the comments because they're not coming through, so I may have to refresh and come back in. So bear with me 2 seconds. Steve, you can take over.
Oh, okay. No worries.
No, we're good. We're good.
Hi, everyone.
We're good. We're good. I'm starting to get them back now, so it's fine. I had a brief blip then where it didn't do it, but we're good. Right, so just going to quickly take this off the screen. And I'm also going to just quickly bring up. Right, here we go. Here's the Cargo Lux Saudi 747.
Yeah, that is. It's done right, isn't it, with the white border on the tail and that?
Yeah, so that's the white border stands out a lot.
Yeah, you can see the difference in it now, can't you? With the white, but the white border does change it completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah, Rob's spot on. That's quality compared to the other one.
Big time.
Definitely. You can see the difference in the grey as well underneath, can't you?
Yeah, Yeah,
if you do that, that makes that 777 stand out. Not so much chrome it, but if you paint it that sort of color, it will make it stand out a little bit more and everything else. But unfortunately, not the case.
No,
with that 777. But just thought I'd quickly show that one. And we'll get back to what we were discussing, which is this one, which we're going to go on to a rating. Also, we will just say a very good evening to Visions International. Stay tuned for the end of the show because, bit of an announcement to make as to who's on next week. Right. Also, at the same time, just very quickly, Cargo Lux is a nice name from Tian Hartley.
Yep. Well, she should know. I've made a 747-800 a Cargo Lux one. It's sat in my attic now because my cat destroyed it. But yeah, it's ruined.
Also, a request from Rob Brown Plain Spot, and he says, "Let's hear the Scottish voice."
Hang on.
Here we go. Right, brace yourselves.
I can't do it, so I'm going to laugh, to be quite honest. Right. Okay, the new I like the American. I can't do it. I can't do it.
No, let's leave it at that, shall we?
Yeah. We don't see it.
It's funny like Kevin and Perry, then, like, you know.
Yeah. It's funny when you say it with Tian Cargo Nuts. She does a really, really good impression of Nicola Sturgeon, to be quite honest. So that's something else.
Wonderful. We'll try and hear that at some point. Not tonight, but we'll try and hear that at some point. Visions International saying just shared our stream to their groups, so thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, big thumbs up for that. Thank you very much. Right, let's rate this Astrojet then. Steve, we'll go with you first. What do you rate this one out of 10?
Yeah, I'm definitely having it. It's going to be an 8 because the engine covers and the tail let it down, but the rest of it's stunning. And I got to sing a bit of Flash Gordon, so I'm happy.
I'm happy to give it an 8 as well. I think barring the missing, chroming of the engines and the sort of slightly off-center tail logo, I still think it looks nice, and I still think it's worth an 8.
Yeah, a good 8. I'd agree with both of you on that one. I can't rate it more than the Boat livery again because of the patriotism, but I'd certainly give it a good strong
heart just then, patriotism.
Patriotism, yeah, but I'd certainly give it an 8 and not points off it just because of the engine covers and the fact that they couldn't really do anything with tail and the badge isn't centered, like you said. So apart from that, the chrome fuselage with that flash line on the side is fantastic. I really, really like it.
Awesome. Rather controversially, Visions International have given it a 6.
Well, you don't have to have him on next week. Joking, obviously.
I want to play the diplomat. Very, very. It's good. It's good to have your opinion. Well done.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Rob Brown Plain Spot gives it a good 8.
Yeah, there you go.
And of course, with our ratings, we give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Having a good chuckle there, so it's good to see. Right. Let's get rid of that one there. So let's zoom all the way out. Right, next one. Another sort of... I'm fairly certain this is still around. You may have to correct me, somebody, because I don't want to check at the moment. It is, of course, the Air Retro livery, which adorns an A319. Difficult, this one, because I don't know if it's too grey. But if you look
like a sweet wrapper,
you can't really see much.
I'm not a fan of it at all.
No?
I like the chrome engine covers. I'll give it that.
No,
I think they're grey, Steve.
Well, they look chrome with the blue and white line, I should say. Like, as it gives it like a reflection down the middle of it.
It might be a metallic paint sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can get. All right, Ian, we'll go to you in terms of you not liking it. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I like the tail. The tail looks quite smart. I'm not a fan of the way that the line splits just behind the door there and swaps to top rather than the bottom. I'm not a fan of that at all. And I don't think I'm a fan of No, I'm not. I certainly don't like the engine covers. I don't like that blue and white stripe on the engine cover. But I don't think I'm a fan of that colour blue against that background. I think that's it. It looks sort of scruffy. I think in my eyes, yeah, I think it looks scruffy. Yeah.
Interesting, Steve.
Yeah.
Your take on this one?
Oh yeah, we don't condone it. It's very bad for your health. But if you remember before they were banned from putting branding on cigarette packets, it looks like the old Lambert and Butler my dad used to buy back in the day.
Yeah, a bit like the Saudi Airlines.
Looks like a packet of it looks like a packet of them. That's instantly what it reminded me of.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get why the blue cheek line separates like a third of the way down the aircraft. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It's like they did it, thought, we've made a mistake here, and rather than correct it, they've Friday jobbed it, gone off to the pub, and not bothered fixing the job on Monday.
Yeah, I think, if I'm honest, like, I don't think it's the worst one, but I think there's probably better versions of the livery that they could have used, I think, in terms of what they've had before, than to use this. Because I don't think it suits the 319 at all.
It looks a bit all squashed in, doesn't it? Don't you think? You've tried to put too much onto it. Maybe if they'd made the lines a bit... I mean, the broadness of those lines they've put on a 319 might have sat on a 777 quite nice, but maybe they could have narrowed the lines down a little bit more or something for a 319 and tried to make it look a little more subtle. But I'm still not a fan of that blue against that silver grey background.
No.
It's just not doing it for me. It almost looks a little bit sort of military, the grey on it and that, and it's just, I don't know, it's just, I prefer what they're flying these days compared to that, to be quite honest.
Let's go through some of the chats. Jack Roll says, that looks finished. No pun intended.
Yep.
Playing Spot 555.
I don't think there was a pun there, were there?
Playing Spot 555 says he believes that the livery's gone. No.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Rob Brown, playing spotting with the pun himself, says it's a bit unfinished. Looks nearly as miserable as most fins. That's his opinion, not ours. Please don't hate us.
Yeah.
Visions International, completely changing the subject, gone to the pub. So fair play to you, slightly, but that's not going to lie. But yes, and then Plane Spotter 555 correcting himself, saying the plane's not dead. It's now part of the Myanmar Air Force now. So the livery's gone, the plane hasn't.
Oh,
But this one shouldn't take too long. And if you guys in the chat want to rate this as well, we'll put them up on the screen. Ian, seeing as you despise it so, what do you rate it?
I don't despise it so much, but I'm just gonna go straight in for a 4 out of 10 because, like Steve says, they've all finished it. It's all cramped and condensed, and I think that livery could have sat better on a better plane, or they could have toned it down a little bit, made the lines a little bit thinner, and got rid of those blue and white stripes on the engines, which look like sweet wrappers.
It's a decent shout, I won't lie.
Yeah.
Steve, any better than a 4, or agree, or less?
Yeah, I'm with Ian. They should have finished the line across the middle of it. And yeah, it's a 4 for me.
4 for you as well. I don't want to be too harsh on it. I would rather give it a 5. If I'm completely honest. However, that will unfortunately give it a 4 out of 5, a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, definitely.
From us. So yeah, not ideal in terms of in terms of retro liveries. However, they're not going to be there to please everybody.
No. I will comment. I agree with what Visions International is saying about the tail. The tail is definitely the nicest part of the plane, to be quite honest. That looks absolutely fine. And I noticed your Martin, Steve, is only commenting on the aircraft where he knows the language. I didn't see him comment about the Saudi or anything like that because he doesn't really know Arabic, does he?
Well, not that he's ever let on anyway.
There's the comment from Visions International.
Yeah.
Saying tail 9, rest of it 4. I think 4 sounds about right. Wonderful. Right, let's get on to the next one. An old classic, of course, an airline that doesn't exist, nor does the plane anymore. It is Alitalia's retro livery, which left our skies. Actually went to Kemble and got broken up, I believe. I want to make that. Is it Kemble or Nuki? It's one of the two. Might be Nuki, actually. The retro plane on their A321. I'll start with you, Ian, on this one. What do you make of this?
It's classic, isn't it? I mean, the tail looks absolutely fantastic for a start, doesn't it? The Alitalia livery on the side and the actual cheat line on the side, it's nice. It's classic, isn't it? It's not trying to be something that it's not. It's not like the Finner where they're trying to cram as much stuff as they can onto the actual body to do I don't know what, or even the American one we've seen, which had a lot going on, and certainly the Canadian one. It's just a classic looking plane with a fantastic looking tail, and then just a nice cheat line on side saying Alitalia. I mean, it's fantastic. It really, really is a nice looking plane. Simplicity, less is more, and all that.
I'm getting vintage on this. So, I mean, I can't find it at the moment. I'll probably put it away. Like a very old vintage Alitalia poster.
Yeah.
And when you look at this, you think like Italian, sort of like they're sort of advertising like Milan and Turin and things like that with the old Italian cars in the background with a very like, very vintage, a proper vintage look to it.
They can dress a plane, can't they? They know exactly what they're doing when they're painting, don't they?
Yeah.
They do it with the planes, they do it with the cars, they do it with the clothes, don't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Italians.
I mean, you paint a great big flag on your tail, you know who it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So you like this one?
Oh, I do. Definitely. I thought you was asking Steve, to be honest, then.
No.
Oh, yeah. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent. Steve, your opinions on this one?
Oh, yeah, well, unequivocally Alitalia, unequivocally Italian, and unequivocally classy. And I've learnt a new word clearly today, so I'm going to use unequivocally as much as possible. No, it oozes class. It's a real beauty. I absolutely love it. Maybe they could have had a black line all the way down through the windows. That would have maybe set it off ever so slightly, or a Italian green, white, red as a cheat line. But overall, it's absolutely stunning. I would have loved to have seen that come into Heathrow.
Yeah, I do like this. I think it's quite classy. I do. It's got that real vintage look to it, and it suits the 321, I think, as well. So it's I do really like this. Jack Rolls saying, "Where is my Dolmio sauce? I got to pop it open for this aircraft."
Fair enough.
I mean, what can you do?
I think Dolmio's about as an Italian as a kebab, isn't it? To be honest.
Yeah, we'll go with it. PlaneSpot 555 says it was Kemble, not anything else that I said. So yeah, I knew it was Kemble or Nuki. It was one of the two. Rob Brown PlaneSpotting says, looks cool. Wouldn't have been out of place on the set of the Italian job while the gold was unloaded in Turin. Cue Michael Caine.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good shout. That.
Yeah, meant to blow the bloody doors off. Something
enough.
like that, weren't it? Yeah. That's my next impression.
Yeah. Visions International says, nice tail, but it doesn't really match the classicness of the rest of the livery. Which is,
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with him on that. I mean, it looks nice. It doesn't look out of place or anything. And for someone who's not a fan of little black noses at front of planes, I think this one looks absolutely fantastic.
It's not over. It doesn't look too much, does it? Like,
No,
I
not
suppose
at
it's
all.
side on that, but it doesn't look too
Yeah.
bad.
I have to
Jack,
say, it's absolutely stunning. That.
It is a stunner, that one. Yeah.
Jack Roll's rating it 10 out of 10 already.
Mm.
And we are going to give ours. So, Ian, out of 10.
I'm going to give it a good 9 because I'm going to give it a good 9. I could see that sat alongside of the Boac, both sat there on an apron next to one another, and it'd be an absolutely stunning looking picture, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve, can you top the 9 or keep the 9 or lower than the 9?
When I look at that aircraft, it takes me back to the golden age of aviation when it was all new and exciting, and for like up and coming people enjoying a glass of champagne, and you could well imagine it in its day. So I'm going to hit it with a 9.5.
Or 9.5.
Yeah, that's a strong one.
Yeah, good shout that. I'm inclined to go 9 as well. Just because it is quite classy. I think it's one of those that's sort of similar to the lines of Boac, I think.
Definitely.
So happily, we give it a 9 out of 10.
Fantastic. Well deserved.
Well deserved 9 out of 10. Let's see what we got here. We got Rob Brown Plane Spotting saying a solid 8.5, which is not bad at all. That one, and Martin Waldridge obviously didn't know he was Italian, so he's gone 9 out of 10.
Yeah, they never taught us Italian in Ferndown schools.
Just finish in French.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right, next up, one that I didn't actually know existed, but apparently it did very recently. Of course, it's Middle East Airlines from Lebanon, because they got 2 retros. We might see one later on in the show, depending on how quickly we can get through these. But this was the first one they had through the A321. Very classic. It seems to be like the general theme of sort of retro jets nowadays. We've seen a lot of aircraft like this already. But Steve, we'll go for you first. What do you make of this? Obviously, you've seen the 321 Neo in the brand new livery. Compare it to this one.
I'll be honest, it's not atrocious, this, but I prefer the current livery. This is a little bit too simplistic for my liking, and I think the new one's really, really smart compared to this. So that's my thoughts on it. It's not doing enough, this livery, for me.
Okay, that's interesting. We'll move on very quickly to Ian.
Sorry, I'm just Googling something. It's going to be related to this. See if you just hang fire on it. I mean, initially, I do actually like the plane, but it does look very simple, I will say. I mean, it's an all-white plane, isn't it? I mean, look, judging by this picture, the bottom half looks a different colour to the top half. I'm presuming that's just the way the light's shining on it. Is it?
It's 2 different colours.
Is it? Right. Well, that's just bear with 1 sec.
I'll give my opinion while you talk amongst yourself.
Right, I'm back now.
It represents everything that the airline has. Of course, you've got the tree from the flag as well. You know, you can tell it's Middle East Airlines. You know what I'm getting from this? Like, if you take out the MEA and you take the tail off, it's the TAP Retro.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I get from it. It's not atrocious. It's quite simple. It's clean. But I don't think it's like one of the best ones out there.
Yeah, just boring isn't the right word, but it's just not doing enough. It's not standing out and wowing me.
Right, can I just add to it?
Go for it.
Change that red cheat line and the red bit at the front of the nose. Paint it black, and you've got the BAA retro livery. That's what it reminded me of at first. And I've just googled a picture of it. I'm just looking at it now and comparing the two together, and they're pretty much the same. To be obviously different badges and stuff like that, but if you just change that colour of that line and the front of the thing, it's pretty much the same design.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
What a decent shout, isn't it?
That's what it reminds me of. Just a red version of it.
Yeah, we'll give it some ratings. But before we do, Rob Brown Plane Spotting says MEA kind of looks like the Guardia. Garuda, sorry.
Garuda.
That's because it threw me off then. Garuda Retro livery, which we should see at some point this evening. Martin Waldridge says, nice cedar on the tail. It is nice. It's nice that they got the tree on the tail, I think.
Yeah.
Visions International hitting us with meh instead of MEA. Meh.
Yeah, nice.
Jack Rolls with probably the comment of the night so far. It's the Manchester United of the retro aircraft liveries. It's mid-table mediocre. Which,
It's a good shout.
It's probably insulting MEA personally, but there you go. Also, new face. Jim, I'm going to probably ruin the last name. Gemmel. Do you pronounce the G with enthusiasm? Like enthusiasm?
I know some Gemmels in Preston, and it looks right, Gemmel.
We'll go Jim Gemmel.
Evening.
So hello to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
And that's just Jim laughing at Jack's comment then. I don't mean to press that. Spot on. There you go. Yeah. So Gemmel. There you go. Right. Let's rate this one and move on. Ian, out of 10.
I'm going to be split with this one. I'm just going to give it a 5. It's not the worst looking livery we've seen tonight, not by a long shot, but it's not the best either. It's pretty lame in it for a retro livery.
Interesting. Okay, Steve, out of 10, what do you give this?
Yeah, well, much like the livery itself, it's very middle of the road, so it's going to get a 5 from me as well. It's not terrible, it's not great, it's just bang in the middle.
Yeah, I'm inclined to stick it down the middle as well. So a 5 out of 10 from us for this particular livery. Also, new name, Sarah Pass, seen there in the chat. She says, hey to Jim, but hi to you. Thank you for joining us this
evening, Sarah. Hope you're well.
Martin Waldridge says, come on, an 8. It's not terrible. It's not at all. It's not at all terrible.
It's just boring. It's just a bit like going to Brighton and expecting it to be amazing and then realising it's a bit rubbish.
Prepare for your internet to go AWOL now.
Yup.
That's the people of Brighton now added to the list of apologies we've got to give at the end of the year. Right, next one. Let's move on very quickly. Romanian carrier Tarom. Now, this has been a retro livery. It's been around for a while. We did a news piece ages ago to say that this plane was up for sale. As well, I don't know whether it still is or not. I'm not entirely sure. Probably not picked the best picture for it because it's looking a little bit dirty. However, Steve, Tarom's retro, what do you think? It's very similar to the Finnair cheat line.
Just going to crack it out again, though. Flash. Oh. Yeah, the blue needs to be a bit darker for me. Like the contrast between the light blue and the white isn't amazing. So whilst it's not particularly dreadful, it needs to be more standoutish, I would suggest. But the current Tarom livery is ever so slightly lazy, so there's not a lot to pick between the two of them, to be quite honest.
Interesting shout. Ian, what do you make of this?
I like it a lot, I'll be quite honest with you. I think it looks dead smart. I like the fact that they've actually used a proper grey underneath it rather than just something that looks an off-white like a lot of other ones use. But I think the grey looks really, really nice on it. And I think that cheat line, it's what Finnair should have done, is what these have done with the way they split it at the end behind the door. Finnair put the big broad stripe back into it. They shouldn't have done it. Would have made it look a little bit better. But Finnair haven't done, and I think they've just... I think it's just right, to be quite honest. I think it's not too much and it's not too little. I think it's just... It's quite subtle, but it's quite striking at the same time. And the happy 60 years on the tail is really smart as well. I think that's a proper nice livery, that. I think it would look nicer, obviously, if the plane were cleaner. But I think it looks nice. I like it a lot.
I like it. I think the blue is quite nice. The way that the white is kind of in there with the zigzag at near the front, it takes a little bit out of it as well. The black nose, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with the fact that they've got the happy 60 years covering the tail there. They probably should have put that somewhere else, maybe towards the front of the plane, rather than just leave the tail.
I think you could be right there. To be quite honest,
Yeah.
thinking about it, they've covered the logo, haven't they? They've covered the actual tail, haven't they? So yeah, I'll agree with you with that.
But to be fair, disregarding that completely, it's nice. It's again not the worst, but it's also not the best. But it's nice. It's definitely sort of, it catches the eye as well. It's one that you probably want to catch as well.
Yeah, you'd want a photo of it. It's just it doesn't quite pop compared to some of the others we've previously seen, and that's sort of what I'm saying on it.
Absolutely. Jim Gemmell saying it has an Air Force feel to it for some reason. Can we see that?
I think I can actually. I can see the the flash on the side and the grey fuselage. I think that's a bit Air Forcey, isn't it, from days gone by? Thinking about it, yeah.
Rob Brown Plain Sporting says similar to Kuwait, and that big 60 on the tail kind of spoils the look. Which the opinions and everything else. And talking of opinions, Visions International says the tail is awful in his opinion.
Yeah.
Well, they've covered up the main bit, haven't they, with a message, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. I think I'll agree with you on that.
Right. So, out of 10, what are we giving it? I'll go first. I'm happy to give this a 6.5. I don't think it's worth any more than the 6.5. Steve.
Yeah, no, it's around that, isn't it? It's a 6. It's not terrible. It's not great. It just sort of does its job with a nod to the history without being spectacular.
So you're going for a 6?
Yeah.
Ian.
I'll go a little bit higher, mate. I'm going to give it a 7. I perhaps would have given it an 8 until people actually pointed out the happy 60 years on the tail. At first, it didn't really bother me, and I thought it was quite a nice touch. But looking at it deeper and what people have been saying about it, then I am quite sort of swayed towards saying that they have ruined it with that 60 on the tail. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 7, definitely. I like it.
Rob Brown Plain Sporting giving it a 6 out of 10. Jim Gemmell also giving it a 6 out of 10. Seems to be a recurring theme because Visions International also gives it a 6. And Jack Rolls joining the crew on 6 out of 10. We give it 6.5 out of 10. So roundabout sort of the same as what everybody else would. I've just seen the comment there. We'll bring it up. We'll mention it. Tian Hartley says, I don't know if I've missed the tap one, but I'd give the old design 6 out of 10 and the new one 1,001 out of 10.
Thing to go.
No.
Yes, 1,001 out of 10. Very good. Visions International saying we are the 6 crew. There you go. 4 of you in the 6 crew. It's like a little badge of honor sort of thing. We'll take it. Right, next one. Another sort of similarly coloured. Try doing that after a pint or two. It is the Scandinavian Airlines Retro jet on the A319. Steve, you first. I've actually seen this one, so I can vouch for the fact that I think it looks nice. But what about you? What do you think to this one?
Yeah, well, when you've put it on after one that wasn't great, which helps its cause somewhat, but I do like this. It's simple and classy. It's it's really nice. I do quite like that one quite a bit, and you've got the company name on the tail, nicely centered. The engine covers have got it on. It's got a nice cheat line, and it's nice. I'm quite a big fan of that, to be fair.
Wonderful. Ian, are you a fan of this one?
I don't know, to be quite honest. I'm quite sat on the fence with this one, to be honest. I'm bothered about the grey, where the line between the grey and the white, and then the Scandinavian line along the side, the cheat line on the side, and it's as though they've painted the plane and then they've took it to get the cheat lines and the liveries put on it, and somebody said you bloody painted it wrong. That's what it's saying to me. I think they painted it wrong. I don't know. That's been critical. Apart from that, it looks absolutely fine. Yeah. I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I prefer the previous one. To be quite honest,
Okay.
Yeah.
I quite like this one because it's got a sense of Viking about it. I think just with the cheat line, just kind of reminds me of like a Viking boat type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
I do like it, and the thing is as well is that obviously the logo of the SAS and the Scandinavian titles and that haven't really changed much over the years.
Tom, can you zoom into what that is at the end of the cheat line under the S, please?
You mean the badges of each country?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's a nice touch, that.
Look like Christmas presents.
Yeah.
If you have a look at the livery they used prior to the blue tail orange engines livery, they had a all white body with the SAS on it, and then the front they had those color lines to represent each flag, and that's one of my favorites. Like of well, for a while, is that old livery I've got. You know, I'll show you a sort of similar type thing. So it's like that.
Oh,
to represent each country. So you got Denmark, Norway, and Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the Christmas presents were then on the back there. Forgive the fact that there's a wing missing. I've got to pick that up behind the PC. But yeah, it's I do like this one. I do like this one a lot. Had the privilege of witnessing this one. So by the Lord Jesus and all that.
Yeah.
Let's get on to the ratings before we go through the comments here. So let's go with you, Steve. What would you give this one out of 10?
I'll give it a solid 7.
7. Very good shout. Ian.
I'm going to go 5. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5. I'm not a fan of it. No, I can't take to it at all.
I'd be happy to give this an 8, if I'm honest. I quite like it because it's quite classy. Therefore, before we do that, let's see what other people have given it. Rob Brown Planespotting has given it a 7.
7, yeah.
Jim Gemmell has given it a 7.5. Jack Rolls has given it an 8. Visions International has given it 7.
No.
And Sarah Pass has given it 7 as well, which is quite convenient because we give it a 7 as well. So we give it a 7. A 7 out of 10 in regards to what we think of this one. So good shout on that one. Right, let's get on to the next one. And here we have a rather interesting one from an airline that is no longer around. It is, of course, the Continental Airlines Retro plane on the 737-900. Still flying around today. It's been around for a while. We'll go with, immediately I'm getting Air France vibes. But, Steve, we'll go with you again. What do you make of this one?
Oh, it might be controversial, but it's incredible. It's a bit boring, to be honest. There's nothing happening, really. It's got a little bit of grey, little red stripe, Continental Airlines, and that's that. It's not. I'll be honest, it ain't doing a lot for me. That livery.
Interesting. All right, Ian, over to you. I'm pretty sure you agree.
It could have been painted by the same people who just did that SAS one. To be quite honest, if you ask me, when it flicked over from that plane to this plane, there wasn't a massive change. There wasn't a massive difference in how the planes look. To be honest, I'm with Steve on it, and it just doesn't do anything for me. There's nothing. Don't get me wrong; it's not an ugly plane or anything like that. It's just got nothing. There's nothing shouting out at me about it. There's nothing. It's quite subtle. It could quite easily land in an airport. Obviously, you'd notice it and you'd take pictures. But I think it could quite quietly taxi away without it causing a fuss, couldn't it? To be honest.
I think, I mean, this is a nod back to like the DC 6 days and things like that. And I think they probably, if they were going to use, I mean, I think this was done before the merger between Continental and United. I would have liked to have seen them use the quoted golden meatball livery on a retro plane, which is what you see in pictures nowadays on like the DC-10 and things like that, and 747s they had back in the day. I would have liked to have seen that personally. I mean, like I said, I'm getting Air France vibes because you've got the logo underneath the cockpit windows and then sort of that line that comes out. But I agree with you guys. I don't think it does much to me as well. And it's not like anything stands out. Like the font doesn't stand out. So even if you were to try to look for that, it's like, where am I looking sort of thing, it looks to me like it's just, there's not much there at all.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, just quickly go through and see what people think. Plane Spot at 555 says, not sure if it's just a picture, but the writing is quite difficult to read. Do we have this issue as well?
Yeah, I'm struggling. I'll be quite honest.
I think because you were talking about it being boring, Steve, Jack Roll says, I didn't realise AFC Bournemouth had their own plane, Steve.
Well, now we're on live and we're respectful. Okay, Jack, lovely.
Brilliant. Rob Brown Planes Point says, looks like US Navy C-40, a bit bland and nondescript.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. A couple comments then from Visions International, who says the font on the tail shocked face.
Yeah. I think there's quite a fine line between something not necessarily the contents on the tail, but the contents on the side and the actual color choices, and maybe even the actual font of the actual lettering as well. But the color choices against a white background on an aircraft, I think they have to be done. I think they have to be done right, don't they? Otherwise, they're just not going to look right. I think there's a lot more to designing a nice livery than just putting a dark blue on a white fuselage, isn't there? To be quite honest, I think
they've used that like a stencil, like you used to have at school, and you'd fill your mate's science book up with various swear words you've written in with the stencil in the back of his book there.
He also says that the marketing team were definitely drunk when they did this.
Yeah. They certainly didn't put a lot of effort into it, did they? They probably thought they did, but I don't know. I mean, what they see as what they can get away with and what the public perceive are two different things, aren't they?
Absolutely. We'll go with rating 2 out of 10.
Oof.
That's a shocker.
That's harsh or not. We're about to find out as we give ours. I will give it split down the middle. I think I'll give it a 5, just because, like I say, it doesn't stand out as much. It's not one of those ones where it's like I must get that one. So yeah, for me, probably a 5. Steve?
I'm hitting this with a 3.
3.
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Ian.
I mean, I would have given it a 4 minimum, to be quite honest. You could have made a few more changes to it and made it look half decent, but that's what we're judging, aren't we? So yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Well, before we reveal what we've given it in terms of the average, Rob Brown Planes Point has given it a 3 out of 10. Martin Waldridge has used the American language and gone 4.
Oh, very good, yeah, classy.
Yeah, nice one, well done. Planes Spot 555 gives it a 3. We have given it a 4.
Yep, I think that's a fair comment. That fair shout. I think the consensus with people listening as well. I think we're all in agreement on that, aren't we? That it's not the nicest, is it?
Yeah, we've given it a 4. Just because it's not. Yeah, they could have done a lot better, I think.
Maybe if they took away the grey and just left it all white, it would have looked a lot better. Maybe the grey just makes it. I don't know. Anyway, I think we should move on.
Yeah, even then I'm not. Yeah, even then I'm not convinced. Let's move on.
Yeah.
let's quickly move on. Right, here we go. It's got mentioned earlier, but we are going for this bad boy. It is the Garuda Indonesia retro jet, which is completely different to what they fly around in now in terms of colors and stuff. I quite like the colors to this. It's more Indonesian, I think, than what the current livery produces. It's very simple. It's a cheat line literally going across the body, up the tail, with Garuda through the middle. I mean, what more could you ask for? Do you know what I mean? Like, what more could you want from this? And to make a plane all white, and literally just chuck 2 colors over it, basically. I quite like this. I like this a lot. Ian.
Well, first thing I'm going to say, it's screaming Iberia, isn't it?
Yeah.
The second thing I'm going to say, now, I'm a fisherman, and one of the brands, what I use for my lure fishing, is a company called Rapala. And if you look at the Rapala logo, it's the exact same font as the Garuda on the tail. So that sort of turned me off it as well. The orange and the red just don't work for me at all, I'm afraid. I just don't find it attractive, to be honest. No.
Nicely spoken from a man from the north. Steve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, to reiterate what it says and what Plane Spotter Travel 5 has said, yeah, it's Scream Iberia. If you took the words off it and said, guess who this is, I would have guessed Iberia.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. It just means it's not unique, but it's classy. Like whether it's this or Iberia, it's still a very, very authentic, old school livery without too much fuss, too much hassle, and done nicely, to be honest.
Give it the yellow. You can see why as well, I think. But I think the other comment, and I think it's a fair one, I think it's probably more like it, I think, is what Jim Gemmell has said. And it's similar layout to the Blue Eastern layout, the old Eastern livery. If you put the blues on there, it looks exactly the same with a chrome body. I believe so. Yeah.
I think it could have done with another colour on it, to be quite honest. To break it. Excuse me. Maybe I would have just ran a bit of black or something down in between the orange and the red or something. Just something to break that orange and the red up. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know whether it don't, like Steve said, it's a classic, nice line going straight up through the tail with the logo going across. That's absolutely fine. It's just the red and the orange for me. I think it needs something in between to break it up now. I don't know. Obviously, because of the country's colours and things like that, it's probably not even doable, is it? But I don't know.
No, there's not really another colour you could add to it.
No, I mean, maybe even put a black border around the orange and the red. Maybe that would have worked. Would have been. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah.
Just something to break it up and just something to. I don't know. It just doesn't work quite well for me, to be quite honest.
Okay, interesting. So we've had our thoughts.
Yeah.
Time for ratings. As usual, get the ratings in. We'll read them out. But we're about to do ours. Steve, we're going to start with the ratings. What do you give this one out of 10?
Yeah, no, it's solid. It's old school. I'm going to give it a decent 7.5.
7.5, decent. Ian?
I'm going to agree with Plane Spotter 555 and Martin Waldridge and just give it a 6, to be quite honest.
So 7.5 and a 6. Do you know what? I'm going to give it probably a solid 7. I think a solid 7 sounds about right for this one. So we'll go through what people have given it. Plane Spotter 555, as mentioned, given it a 6. Martin Waldridge has given it a 6. Visions International has given it 7. Rob Brown Plane Spotting giving it 5.
Ooh, wow.
Interesting choice, that, but obviously it's not for everybody.
Just quickly, Rob, just come into the comments on on why you're not a massive fan of it, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, let us know why such a low score.
Yeah.
And we have Jim Gemmell giving a 7, which seems to be appropriate because we've given it a 7.
Yeah. I just think it needed some. I was just saying, Steve, when you disappear, that where the orange and the red are, if they just like give it a black pinstripe or something below and below, above and below it, I think it might have just broke it up a little bit and made it look a bit. It's like they've got the retro livery, got a brand spanking new plane, and just thought, well, this is what, and then we'll just stick it on this brand spanking new plane here and roll with it, sort of thing. And I think you just need a little bit of something else just to set it off.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. It would have looked decent.
1969 to 1985.
Yeah.
Is when that livery was around.
Yeah, I think they should have left it in 85, to be honest.
Rob Brown Plane Spotting coming in with his answer. The other Garuda 777 government is retro style, looks far better.
Okay, well, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. Right. Let me have a look at my list here, see where we're at. Because we got a load to get through yet, so so I might just pick and choose because we are an hour and 36 minutes in. Excuse me, squeaker's still working. Right, next one. One from the American brand, a sort of a heritage into sort of past aviation. It's very similar to the Garuda one, I've just noticed. But this is the Pacific Southwest Airlines, I believe, an old airline from the 80s, which American have decided to celebrate on an A319. Very quickly, I think it's a nice homage to them. They were quite a well-known airline, PSA. It's very bright, I'll give it that. I mean, it's not as white as the Garuda one. And the lines are very chunky, so I think that probably helps it a little bit. Maintains the smile at the front from the livery from before, when they were around themselves. Quite like it. Steve?
Yeah, just in quick summary, I prefer it to what we've just seen on the thickness of the stripe. There's a lot less empty white space going on. They've put the American logo nicely without interfering too much with the retro, and they've done all right there. It's not terrible by any means.
Ian?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, the colours scream to me 1970s furniture, 1970s like settees and stuff like that, what you used to have in your grandma's house and what have you when you were kids growing up. I'll be honest with you, I know they've got the smile on it and it's there and it is quite effective as part of the delivery. It's not for me, to be quite honest. I'm personally not a fan of the smile, but I can see why it's there and it does look quite effective. But the nice broad stripes and the actual shade of the sort of a rusty orangey type colour, what they've used above the red, I think it works really well. It's bright, but it's not dazzlingly bright, is it?
It's got me hankering for fruit salad sweets, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
definitely a good shout on that one.
Yeah.
Rob Brown says it kind of works on the 319. It does. I quite like it.
I quite like the tail. I like the design on the tail. I think it looks really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, the tail's really, really nice. And Jim Gemmell says that one thing spoils it: the smile.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Jim there.
Yeah,
you can see why they've done it, can't you? But I mean, like Steve says regularly, if you've got kids and they're quite worry about air travel and things like that, then you see something like that rolling up to your gate with a big smile up front of it. It looks like front of a teddy bear or whatever. It looks absolutely fantastic for kids, doesn't it? And they're going to want to get on it, aren't they? And it's going to alleviate a lot of anxieties.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like that.
Yeah. Jack Rolls will have his own TV program on TLC, no doubt, because he says, "Oh my, that aircraft! If that was a woman, I would ask it out."
Well,
so expect to see that on TLC some point soon.
Yeah, I'd imagine the aircraft would say no, Jack. Just to upset you.
I don't think it'll fit in the toilets at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Romsey Sunday.
Yeah.
For a party.
Yeah.
Martin Woodridge says maybe a shark's mouth on there.
Yeah.
I don't think it would work.
That's it. Make it look like front end of a tornado or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Right. Ratings time. Get them in the chat while we give ours. I'm going to go for a 7. I think it's quite nice. I don't think it's worth any less. Steve, go on.
Just because it's made me want fruit salad sweets and I haven't got any, I'll also hit it with a 7.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Ian, over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's really nice, to be quite honest. I do like it. It's a proper eye catcher. The orange isn't too orange. I've not points off for the smile, but it's there because that's part of the livery, isn't it? So absolutely. I can't change that. But yeah, I'd give it a good 8, definitely.
Cool. Right. So Rob Brown Planespoint giving it a 7.
Yep.
Martin Waldridge giving it a 7. Planespotter 555 gives it a 7. Jack Rolls gives it an 8, despite the fact it would turn him down. Visions International gives it a 6.5, which I think is quite fair. I don't think it's worth any less than a 6.5. So 7 sounds pretty good. Jim Gemmell going quite high, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 without the smile.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, good shout on that one. We give this one a 7.
Ooh.
Hey.
Which I think is pretty decent.
I thought it would worth more than that, but that's why we have opinions, isn't it?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look here, because I think what we'll end up doing is we may have to do a part 2 on this. As time is getting on. We should have ended, but we are still going. And we'll go on for about another 10 minutes, and then we'll do a few more for 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap the show up. So let me just come off here as we just quickly run through some. Let me take that off there. Right, let me just quickly pick the next one, which is that one there. The problem is if I skip through them, you're going to see what's about to come on the screen. Right, next one, Gulf Air. We've spoken intensively about this previously. I can't think what it was. I think it was to do with like liveries, like a livery episode that we did. And now we've brought it back again for the retro, as it is a retro plane. I've always had my opinion to say I like this. I don't like the 70s version of it. I like the darker gold version of this one. But I know we had opinions where it didn't look right on the 787, but it looked great on the 321 Neo. But I think from this angle, I think that kind of proves it all wrong. So this rates very highly for me. Ian, over to you.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I think it looks dead smart. Was it the tail what was different? There was something different about the tail, weren't there? If I remember rightly.
The bright gold you can see was darker on the later version. And I think the Eagle, was probably a little bit smaller, from what I can remember.
Yeah. I do like it. I think what I would change about it, the cheat line, I would probably run it right to the back of the plane. I think what I would have liked to have seen is the cheat line being run up the plane and probably up the tail, to be quite honest, and been a full continuation of that cheat line and got rid of the big 70 on the side. They could have done something a bit more subtle with that, I suppose, but that's what I would have done. But I do like it. I think it looks nice. The front end of it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I think once you get past
nice.
the wings, it's more of it looks more like an advertisement board, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Interesting shout, Steve.
Yeah, I'm entirely with Ian. I think it should have done that. Scrap the unnecessary writing on the back. It reminded me a bit of Bin Man Airways, the Bangladeshian lot. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, the one that released this load all over Windsor.
Yeah. That's what it struck me as. But yeah, no, Ian's spot on. Cheat line up into the tail would have been awesome, and get the clutter on the back that doesn't do it any favors.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it. I wish they'd gone for the darker livery, like that. I know. but I like it, and it suits the 787 and the 321 Neo quite well. Jack Rolls says that he would love to catch this one. I know exactly what he'd like to catch.
That one, yeah. Everyone likes a polished APU, don't they?
Certainly do. And then Rob Brown plane spotting with, I think he's overtaken Jack's comment of the night with the Gulf Air livery on the L1011 TriStar. If you haven't seen it, it looks awesome. Do it. Google it. Do what you have to do in order to see that particular Gulf Air livery on the L1011 TriStar. Very, very nice. And Jim Gemmell agreeing with that one as well. So let's get to ratings. I will kick this one off again. I'm happy to give this one, and just because I do like it, I'm happy to give it a good 9 out of 10. Ooh. I think it's up there with BOAC because it is synonymous with Gulf Air. They've kept that type of livery for a long time before going to the current one. And of course, the one beforehand, the gold sort of nose. So this one was around for a long time. 9 out of 10 for me. Steve?
Yeah, the adverts on the back ruin it, I'm afraid. So I'm going to have to give it a 6.
6. That's very low for two ends of the spectrum there. Ian?
I would have scored it higher, and I'm only going to score it a 7 for the simple reason I'm staring at the Gulf Air TriStar at the moment, and it's a damn sight better looking than that, to be quite honest. Now, that is a classy looking plane. And the gold, where it was, it was like a really, really deep green on the old TriStar, weren't it? Or a blue even. I can't really make my mind up.
The gold is like a bit of a brown colour.
Yeah. It's not giving me that kind of vibe, but it looks a lot better on the TriStar with it, and it's got painted engines as well, rather than just plain white engines, which look better as well. Yeah, I would stick at 7. I would say up to the wing, I would have given it an 8, and then beyond the wing, I would have given it a 6. So give me an average of 7. So
cool.
Yeah,
right. Let's go through this one. Jack Rolls says that wouldn't be the first APU I've smashed. Classy bird. Yep. Visions Aviation, Visions International rather, gives it a 8.5. Planespotter 555 also gives it an 8.5. Rob Brown Planespotting says a solid 8 point off for the 70 clutter.
Yeah.
Jack Rolls, because it's a polished APU, gives it a 10 out of 10. And Jim Gemmell gives it an 8.5 out of 10, knocked 0.5 off for the 70. Not a lot of people seem to like that 70th anniversary.
It doesn't do anything.
No. But because of the scores that we've given it, I gave it a 9. Steve gave it a 6. Ian, you gave it a 7.
Yeah.
We've given it an average of 7.5.
7.5. I think that's a fair shout, that.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Right, next one we can keep on, so that's fine. Right, I know somebody is a huge fan of this next one, and I'm going to let him go first to talk about it. It is, of course, the Air Lingus Retro, which I know, Steve, you are a huge fan of. So take it away.
I was lucky enough to see this one at Heathrow 2 visits ago now, and it's nice. It's just classily done. There's no faffing. It's very reminiscent to the BEA livery in a sense, and it does what it does very simply and effectively without going over the top. Maybe if you're being ultra critical, you'd like to see maybe a little bit more green in it, but I do like an old school black and white plane, I'll be quite honest.
Wonderful. I didn't think much of it to begin with, but I mean, there's something about that sort of dark color that makes it stand out, I think. So for me, it's it's a high, it's a high scoring retro livery for me. I think I've seen it with my eyes, not taken any photos or anything of it yet. So I'm hoping one day to get down to Bristol, because I know they're flying the 320s in at the moment. So I'm hoping to be able to see it then. But I like this one. Ian, over to you.
Yeah, Plane Spotter 555 has just said it likes how the white nose goes into the white on the side. Now, I was going to say the same thing. I like the fact that they've used the grey underneath and the white above and just split it simply with a cheat line just above. So they've got, like, in a sense, they've got the dark cheat line over top of a white cheat line. It's simplicity itself. It reminds me a little bit, going back to the Alitalia one, where it's just simple. And it just screams retro at you. And it's got that shamrock on the side looks absolutely fantastic. Just a simple shamrock. They've not tried to make it look fancy or anything like that. And the cheat line on the side with the classic font as well for the Air Lingus, writing above the cheat line there. I think it looks fantastic. I really, really do.
Yeah, lots of comments coming in for this one.
Yeah,
so we're going to quickly jump onto the ratings. Steve, over to you first. I've got a feeling I know what you're going to give this one.
Oh, well, it's solid. The only thing I'd have slightly different is the writing would be slightly larger, maybe slightly thicker font. So 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I would happily go 8.5. 8.5 out of 10 for me. Ian, over to you.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I won't go any higher because I wouldn't put it on a par with the Bowax 747. So I would give it an 8 out of 10, definitely.
Very sharp.
Wicked. Let's quickly run through. There's a lot of comments on this one. So, right, Visions International says that's a proper retro. 10 out of 10.
Fantastic.
For that one, not the only one to say that, because Jack Rolls says 10 out of 10 because that looks gorgeous. Not the plane. Rob Brown, Plane Spotting, saying being uber critical, a better blend of the grey and white up near the nose section. I can see what he means. So if you blend that in properly with the bottom of the nose as opposed to sort of middle, maybe. Almost looks like a new nose cone sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
Which is a fair shout. Tian Hartley says, looks swish. It's obviously another word that I'm not down with the kids for. 9 out of 10, she says.
Very good.
You couldn't read her other comments out, could you?
Eh?
Tian's other comment.
I'll do that quickly then. But I rate the Ryanair in the background more. You want to have words, honestly.
Yeah.
Jack Rose says, by the Lord Jesus, that Air Lingus be the Jesus.
Yeah.
Jim Gemmell says, simple but effective, 9.5. And Plane Spotter 555 also gives it 9.5. And Rob Brown, Plane Spotting, 8 out of 5, despite the criticalness. We've given it an 8 out of 5.
There we go.
An 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
fair.
All right. So we're going to do one more. And I think what we're going to do is, what should we do? We will do the next one. We'll do the next one, and then we're going to wrap it up, and then we're going to save the rest for a part 2, because I quite enjoyed this, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was so much to get through, but there is.
Yeah,
so next one, and the last one for this evening, another one that no longer exists. It was retired in 2020 as a tribute to one Pedro. That's a friend of ours that we know. Is, of course, Air Malta with their A320, which, like I said, was retired in 2020. Ian, we'll go for you first for the Air Malta. This livery adorned the likes of the Boeing 720 and their earlier 737s. What do you make of it?
Too much red for me.
Oh.
Yeah. There's too much red on it for me, to be honest. I mean, going back to the Gulf Air one, where they said it'd be nice if you had the cheat line running right down the side, up into the tail. I think on this Air Malta one, it doesn't quite work. I think the font's wrong over the Air Malta font. What they've written it in and isn't quite right. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't really like it that much, to be quite honest. Yeah, I don't like that red and blue together.
It's
My
yeah,
opinion.
okay. That's an interesting shout. Steve.
Yeah, two things spring to mind. One, the top cheat line should have gone all the way to the cockpit window and maybe add the gap for air motor if that's what they wanted to do, or put that somewhere altogether different. And on the tail, have it finishing into more of a sort of triangle up to the top of the tail rather than just squaring
Yeah,
off and leaving a
squared it
random
off.
white blank bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better than most out there if you compare it to the likes of the Finnair one and things like that. You know, it maintains the air motor, look that it's had throughout the years. The cheat line, yeah, maybe, but I think it looks nice as it is. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Because you got some that sort of are very bland, as we've sort of seen throughout this sort of episode, and I like it. It's obviously not around anymore, and there are rumours that Air Motor are looking to change their livery back to a sort of a simplified, older version of what they had. So, yeah, chances of seeing this retro plane around again on another plane is very unlikely. But I do like this one. And I'll give this a rating first, and I'll go for a strong 6.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll probably follow suit on that and also say a 6 for me.
Ian.
Yeah, I'll knock points off it, and I'm just going to go with a 5.
5.
I think they could have done a lot more. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't even look retro to me.
If you look up the 720s they had, you'll know it looks retro.
Oh yeah, but not looking them up. I'm just looking at that and thinking this doesn't even look like a retro livery to me at all. Anyway, I'd give it a 5.
A 5.
Yeah.
All right. Let's have a look and see what other people have said. PlaneSpotter 555 says it almost looks unfinished, which I think is a theme for a lot of these sort of unfinished cheat line type aircraft that we've seen this evening. Jim Gemmell says should have carried the red above the windows along to the cockpit with air motor above it, so move the title completely. So that's
sort of what I was saying. Yeah.
And again says looks half finished. Rob Brown plane spotting, saying looks a bit sloppy and unfinished with the cheat line and with the red on the tail. You can sort of understand the tail side of it.
Yeah, they should have gone to the top of the tail more. Yeah. I don't understand why they left such a huge blank space up there.
Probably should have filled it out more, I think.
Yeah.
And then to the ratings that people have given it, Rob Brown plane spotting 6.5. PlaneSpotter 555 giving it 6. Visions International giving it 6. Seems to be like the 6 crew again.
Yeah.
Jack Rolls giving it a 6.5. And Jim Gemmell giving it a 5, which means for the last one for tonight, we have given it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, they could have used Visions International. They run out of red paint. Lol. What they could have done was the red cheat line above. They could have made that a little bit narrower, and then as they came up into the tail, they could have used that little bit of red paint they'd saved and painted that bit, couldn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is unfinished, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's an interesting livery for sure. But unfortunately, we've still got loads to go through. But we're going to sort of stop it there, and we're going to pick that up in 2 weeks' time. I think would be a good shout to revisit the second half of the retro liveries. I think if that sounds good for you guys.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect.
Part 2 will come up in 2 weeks' time. There you go. So that is an unexpected part 1 finished because we were kind of hoping to get through them all, but I didn't realize there was actually so many to get through, and there are still so many to get through in the next one as well, including big airlines that we haven't seen yet. But yeah, hopefully that was enjoyable for you guys. We've been going now for 2 hours. So we're going to start to wrap this show up. But before we do, we're going to do some shout outs. And of course, we're going to announce who we've got on next week. It's we probably arranged this about half an hour or so before actually going live. But the news of next Wednesday, Ken and Sarah from Visions Aviation join us for a good old chinwag about everything to do with aviation, their streaming channel and magazine, and going to have a look at some old Heathrow photos as well, which should be very interesting indeed.
Fantastic. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
So should be a lot of fun. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to having Ken and Sarah from Visions Aviation on with us next Wednesday. Wonderful. Right. Let's go into some shout outs and then we'll discuss a little bit more about the football thing that we've got going on in the top right hand corner just to end the show. And then we will say our goodbyes. So let's do some quick shout outs and some videos, I should point out as well. Yeah, Visions International, just by photos and videos from Heathrow time gone by. Steve, if you'd like to kick off the shout outs for tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All the old and new faces in the chat, thank you for joining us and thank you for contributing. It makes the show for what it is, for people like you who come in and sort of be part of it. So thank you for that. Tom and Ian, as always, we have a decent little laugh on air, off air, so it's always appreciated. And finally, one to myself, Steve, if you're listening to this back in your van tomorrow, don't forget to go to Greg's in Swanage and get some decent lunch, because you might forget. But if you hear this, you'll remember. Mate, I hope you're having a good day, and yeah, go steady, pal. Drive safely.
All right, my lovelies.
Yeah.
We're going to tell yourself to stay sexy, stay safe, and everything else.
No, but that's at the end there. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Goodness me. Fantastic. If you actually listen to the full 2 hours and you manage to hear that back, then fantastic. You have to let us know if you get a Greg's or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Ian, over to you for some shout out.
Just massive shout out to yourself, Tom, and to you, Steve. It's always a good laugh when we do one of these shows. It's really, really good. I really enjoy it. Massive shout out to everybody in chat tonight getting involved. It's nice when all the, when you get all the comments in the chat and things like that. It makes the show, doesn't it? It's nice that people are listening and engaging in what you're doing and stuff, and that's really, really appreciated. Big shout out to Steve tomorrow. Enjoy your Greg's, or if you're listening to this after you've had your lunch, then I hope you chokes on it.
Yeah, cheers, pal.
Yeah,
if you don't hear from me.
Yeah, got you from me again. You probably choked on your Greg's. No, just a massive shout out to everyone in chat again tonight, and to yourselves, guys. And yeah, fantastic, brilliant,
wonderful. Quick question, Steve, before I do my shout out. Rob Brown is asking, big softy or steak bake?
I am a big softy, and yeah, steak bake, chicken bake, slice of pizza. I love the lot, mate. I polish it off like Bruce and Matilda. I've got crumbs all around my face and everything, mate. And everyone's egging me on, so don't worry about that. I won't go hungry.
You can do it, Bruce.
Bruce. Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, don't worry about that, mate. I'll be all right.
Brilliant. Right, yeah, that's fine. Jack Rolls just quickly pointing out that he's ready for that friendly, Steve. This is to do with the football thing, but we'll get on to that in a minute. But yeah, he says he's ready. Are you ready?
Born ready, mate. Don't worry about that. I'm not. I won't lose sleep over that tonight.
Wonderful. Right, I will do my shout outs. We'll quickly mention the football and then we will get out of here. So, a shout out to yourself, Steve, and of course yourself, Ian, for wonderfully contributing again to the show. 52 in. If this was for properly 52 weeks and we weren't doing 2 shows a week at some point, this would be the year anniversary. However, that's not the case. That's in a couple of weeks' time. I've got the party poppers ready. So we're going to let them go again.
Not them dodgy ones from Amazon again, is it?
It's the dodgy ones from Amazon, yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that stink. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to everybody that's been watching. Thank you to the new names that have come in and watched the show and left positive sort of comments about it. And of course, if you've subscribed this evening, which we have gained some, thank you to you guys as well. It means a lot to us. It obviously means that you are also enjoying this kind of content. So thank you for that. Also, a quick pointer to a video I uploaded back on the weekend of my trip to Heathrow the weekend before. If you haven't seen that yet, go onto the channel, check that out. Let me know what you think of that. I think it's pretty decent in terms of what I caught. So do go and check that out if you have some time to watch it. Also, shout out to frontline workers. Didn't do this last week, and I feel quite bad for it, so I'm going to do it today. Frontline workers, health workers across the world, and of course, without trying to get too political, we stand with Ukraine. So big shout out to everybody there. So quickly mentioned the football, and then we're going to get out of here. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, Steve, if you want to just quickly point upwards, we are running a Expert 11 football league. This is a website that's been around since 2003. I played it as a child. I've recently got back into it and introduced these two to it. We have 12 teams in the league, and we're looking to add some more. The closing date is this weekend. We're looking at probably Saturday. The season will kick off on Thursday next week. And for each team that joins, myself, Steve, and I nearly did it then, Ian, will donate 5 or 10 quid per team to the mental health charity Mind. So if you want to drain us of our wallets, do consider joining the league there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're enjoying ourselves already in terms of building up to the season, aren't we?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Done a couple of friendlies, not been too successful, but I'm getting there with my squad.
I beat you 3-2, so I was quite happy with that this morning.
Scabby goal. Scabby last minute goal.
Fantastic. So if you're into your football and you want to come and have a go with us on trying to be a football manager, all for a good cause, of course, for the charity Mind, do go onto expert11.com. The league ID is there as well to join us on our adventures. Right. That will do for this evening. 2 hours and 8 minutes. Good Lord. Good luck to you tomorrow, Steve. Hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. We'll do part 2 in 2 weeks' time. We're looking forward to having Ken and Sarah on the show next week.
Absolutely fantastic.
And with that being said, we'll say our goodbyes. So, Ian, if you'd like to do the honours for yourself.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Short and sweet. Love it.
Absolutely.
See you next week. Steve, if you'd like to say goodbye to everybody in your traditional way.
All right, then. Cheerio, my lovelies. Stay safe, stay sexy, and until next time, take care. All right. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And from myself, thank you so much for watching this evening and making this show a lot of fun tonight. Hopefully part 2 will be even more fun, but we'll see you next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. For episode number 53 of the Departure Lounge YouTube podcast. I know where I was going with that. But yes, so continue to have a fantastic rest of the week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week for some more fun and games and shenanigans on the Departure Lounge podcast. Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye.